The dominator of the universe Boros versus monster form Garou. These two clearly sits above most characters in the series, and this right here was highly contested for years before the cosmic fear Garou's form, and that's due to one stating it would be a good fight if they both collided. So who got this in the bag and who can really outmatch the other? I would also want to say that this matchup is only about monster form Garou versus Boros, not the form that comes after, as I think that matchup is pretty self-explanatory and doesn't really need anyone to debate it. But before I start, I want you guys to Godslayer fist the subscribe button and the notification bell for more of these One Punch Man matchup videos. As many of you forget that you are not subscribed, it's merely a reminder, and that would help me and motivate me to be better in the future regarding these videos. Thank you. Despite Boros being shown early in the series, to be precise volume 6, he still remains to be one of the strongest in the verse. I've already made 2 videos featuring him, as I would suggest you guys to go and watch them. However, in here I'll be going briefly on Boros' best scaling feats and try to add more and explain better regarding his overall stats. So as we all know, Boros is the first character we've seen who is capable of tanking punches from Saitama and going toe to toe with him. Implied to be the same as him, too strong that now it's boring. What makes him a remarkable opponent is his regen and healing factor that would allow him to stay longer in a fight. There's a bunch of evidence that puts Boros higher than most of the monsters we've seen, such as Saitama being surprised by his speed while easily and not even trying detecting Flashy Flash's movements, and also Saitama stating that Boros is strong multiple times and saying that it's almost a real fight. Unlike, for example, Orochi, who Saitama dealt with relative ease and paid no attention to. His most impressive feats are obviously tanking hits from Saitama and being capable of landing multiple hits on him alongside throwing him into the moon in matter of seconds. Not to mention the collapsing star roaring cannon that was stated to be a planet buster attack both in the data book and in the manga. Required Saitama to use a serious punch to fully stop it. I might also add that Boros' IQ and wisdom in a fight is highlighted by him admitting that he was nowhere near Saitama's level, understanding that he was holding back severely alongside with comprehending the fact that Saitama is the planet's strongest warrior from first glance, stating that he holds immeasurable energy. We know Boros declines with time since meteoric burst eats away his lifespan, and it's more than likely that collapsing star roaring cannon would roughly weaken him up to the point of not being capable of fighting anymore, so I would say it's his last resource. Monster form Garou is the highest level Garou has attained without the help of God, has gotten too strong that no hero is left to face him apart of Saitama, is essentially a tier higher of those as Platinum S, Orochi, Sage Centipede, and Ocean Natural Water. These are all monsters who are high dragons and arguably could be above. Monster form Garou's only fight was against Saitama, was durable enough to take multiple punches from him, and impressively was capable of holding his own against him. We know Garou close quarter combat skills is second to none, alongside with outstanding adapting skills that allows him to keep getting stronger during the fight, as shown being capable of outmaneuvering Saitama's attacks using his perfected Godslayer fist martial arts, and even Saitama himself asked why he cannot punch him, and also being capable of tossing Saitama around with his kicks and punches. Garou also has the ability to regenerate alongside his outstanding durability that allowed him to tank multiple punches and consecutive normal punches from Saitama. That kind of attack usually obliterates any opponents that Saitama used it against, but Garou was tired but fairly just fine. His best feat was an attack strong enough that caused a spatial distortion that created a hole in the dimensional seal. Also made Blast the #1 hero wary enough and was forced to go face whoever is responsible for this. It should also be noted that in the first drawing of this chapter, Blast's companions alongside him were utterly shocked of that feat. One of them commented that he doubted an Earthling could do that, but this was changed in the redrawn version, showing only Blast mentioning the dimensional seal break. Some people say that Garou's attack is only a city level, since the aftermath of that attack only resulted into creating a large dent in the mountain. That's obviously ridiculously stupid, since Garou by this point is obviously above characters who by the very least are continental, and his attacks are more likely dense or, to be precise, compressed. And after obviously he gets beaten by Saitama's punch that forced him to revert back to his human form, only to be given a new power from God to become Cosmic Fear Garou. Alright, now since we discussed briefly their stats, let's talk about how would this go. Let's start with addressing an argument that people tend to bring up regarding this matchup. The argument is that the Saitama who fought against Boros is a weaker version than the one who fought against Garou. And the reason being is that some tends to think that Saitama gets stronger every day to the point of defeating himself from yesterday. And that's due to Dr. Kuseno's machine in the audiobooks. I don't think that's exactly the case, as we have so many factors that plays into this, such as Saitama saying to Genos that it's an unreliable data. So it could be that this machine didn't take limit breaking Saitama into consideration and brought a weaker version of himself, as the story itself clearly suggests that Saitama obviously would get stronger, but only when he is pushed, and it has something to do with his intense emotions, as evidenced in his fight against Cosmic Fear Garou. However, I'm not saying that Saitama is not improving at all, as Murata himself stated that Saitama is still training. All I'm saying is that his rate in improvement wouldn't be to the point of one-shotting himself from yesterday. Alright, so for me, the two combatants are very relative. Both of them holds outstanding speed, strength, durability, and regen, and both were capable of landing hits on Saitama. Granted, we know Saitama was holding back severely against both. However, when it comes to close quarter combat, Garou obviously has an edge over him, as he was capable of outmaneuvering Saitama's punches and hitting him back, so he should be more than capable of doing the same thing to him. When it comes to speed, both of them are extremely fast. One was capable of surpassing both Platinum S and Flashy Flash and gets severely stronger and faster after that, and the other surprised Saitama himself with his speed. Same Saitama who stopped Flashy Flash with ease. Garou also seems to hold superior durability, as both of them took consecutive normal punches, but Garou seemed to be fine and unaffected compared to what happened to Boros. However, when it comes to destructive capacity, Boros obviously has an edge, since his collapsing star roaring cannon was confirmed to be a planet buster, and we've never seen anything on that level that was performed by Garou. When it comes to strength, I would say they are pretty comparable. Boros' best strength feat is kicking Saitama to the moon, and some would say he was capable of melting his ship with his movements and damaging it. His ship is strong enough to withstand Saitama landing from the moon, but that never happened in the manga. Melting the ship is an anime only scene, and Garou caving a large mountain should be around the same level as the moon kick, so I would say they are pretty comparable. So I would go ahead and say this: both can really harm each other somehow. If the collapsing star roaring cannon connects somehow into Garou, it would probably be enough to destroy him. However, Garou has an edge over everything else. I would see him adapting to meteoric burst movements and outmaneuvering his attacks and dodging him enough so that Boros would be incapable of fighting, due to his form eating his lifespan away, as Garou was capable of doing that to Saitama himself. Not to mention the fact that Garou has been adapting and surpassing every opponent he fought, especially when it comes to speed. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that this battle is close and could go either way. However, if I have to choose, I would give this to Garou, simply for the fact that he has so many angles he could go about this fight. He would outmatch him in close quarter combat and holds enough stamina and impressive durability that would allow him to force Boros to reach his breaking point. On the other hand, I can see that Boros' only way of defeating Garou is using his collapsing star roaring cannon, but I don't see Garou letting him charge it up or just stay there and take the hit. I'm fine with both of them being stronger than the other, but if I have to choose, I'll give it to the character who almost killed everyone because he got bullied in primary school. Such as Saitama saying to Genos that that's an it's an unreliable for fuck's sake. Such as Saitama saying to Genos that that's god damn. Such as Saitama saying to Genos that it's an unreliable okay. Such as Saitama saying to Genos that it's an unreliable data. Not to mention the collapsing roar starring killer.